Yes. Okay. Um, one of the explanations I gave, the grammar was good, but I didn't like the explanation I gave for a mixed conditional. The mixed conditional was if I had not gotten divorced 10 years ago, I would be a happy man today. Grammar's perfect. It's a mixture of third conditional, untrue in the past, if clause, mixed with a second conditional, untrue in the present, hypothetical mood, in the result clause. But I didn't like the explanation that I gave. The explanation is, in theory, if I had not gotten divorced 10 years ago, that means I did get divorced 10 years ago. And the result clause, I would be a happy man today. Well, it's not true. It means I am not a happy man today, in theory. Please do not take this literally. I've made great strides in emotional, mental, psychological development, just for the purposes of grammar. Okay, so once again, if I had not gotten divorced 10 years ago, in theory means I did get divorced 10 years ago. It's untrue in the past. I would be a happy man today, second conditional, untrue in the present means I am not a happy man today. That's the theory. Just get your head around it, replay this, you'll get it. You'll understand it more clearly. Uh, what else? And here's another advanced conditional that I was talking with, I think, Natalie about. And I came across this about a year ago. I like to continue to do research in English grammar. I find it fascinating, and it feels good to be not an expert, but to be, very confident in what you're teaching concerning particular subject matter. I like that. Let's say a student went missing at a school, and I was the teacher. And let's say a police officer came into my classroom and said, Mr. McGrath, we'd like to talk about Timmy, who has been missing for a couple of days now. Could you tell me anything about Timmy? This seems like a conditional, but it's not. And that means the rules for applying grammatical rules for basically conditionals, they don't apply. So, let's say the police officer said, "Can you tell me anything about Timmy?" And maybe I said, "Well, he usually sits right here, present tense." And maybe the officer says, "Well, can you tell me anything else?" And let's say I said something like, "Well, if he was here yesterday, again, he was sitting right there." Notice the was, no were, no conditional rules for grammar because it's not a conditional. And what I'm getting at is if you do the zero, the first, the second, the third conditional, it means that you must be 100% certain about what you know. Leave the zero conditional out of it. We rarely use it in English. The first conditional means you must be 100% certain that it's true in the present. Second conditional means you must be 100% certain that it's untrue in the present. The third conditional means that you must be 100% certain that was it's no, excuse me, that it is untrue in the past. That means like certainty of knowledge. If you're not certain and you're, let's say, in my situation, I was talking to the police officer and the police officer said, "Could you please tell me anything else about Timmy?" And I said to the police officer, "Well, I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened to him. Unsure, completely unsure. But if he was here yesterday, and I'm not sure he was, but if he was here yesterday, he was sitting right there. It's just past tense and past continuous. It's not a conditional, so the rules for applying grammar to the conditionals, they don't apply." Now, again, this is extremely advanced scenarios and context for something that it appears to be a conditional, but it's not a conditional. It just means I don't know if he, honestly, officer, I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened to him, but you know something, I would say that if he was here yesterday, he was sitting right there, but I'm not sure. I don't know. So at this point, there are no other contexts in which I can describe to you conditionals. The four basic conditionals, zero factual, First conditional, true in the present. Second conditional, untrue in the present. Third conditional, untrue in the past. Then you have mixed conditionals. I gave you the example about being divorced. If I had been divorced 10 years ago, if I hadn't divorced 10 years ago, I would be a happy man today. Okay, that's a mixed conditional. Third conditional, untrue in the past, if clause. And then second conditional, untrue in the present, result clause. That's a mixed conditional. So that's basically 5 conditionals. Then I gave you a 6th one, but it's not even really a conditional. It looks in structure, it looks like, it sounds like a conditional, but it's not. It's when you're unsure, you just don't know. Well, officer, I don't know what happened to Timmy, but I can tell you this. If he was here yesterday, he was sitting right there. You don't have to change was to were and apply the usual rules for conditionals to the grammar. You don't have to, because it's not truly a conditional. Why? Because you don't know. Again, to actually apply all of the 4 basic conditionals, you must be certain. Leave the zero factual one out. We don't really use it. The first conditional, true in the present, you must be absolutely certain. The second conditional, you must be absolutely certain that it's untrue in the present. The third conditional, you must be absolutely certain that it's untrue in the past. I am absolutely certain that if I had not gotten divorced 10 years ago, I would be a happy man today. I'm absolutely certain about that. That's why I go to the third conditional. I mixed it with the second conditional, untrue in the present. Again, another advanced form of using conditionals, but that's basically, this one is in quotation marks. 5 situations for conditionals. 0 factual conditional, first conditional, true in the present, second conditional, untrue in the present, third conditional, untrue in the past. The 5th type of conditional is a mixed conditional. I gave you an example with the example of divorce. And then you've got this other one that sounds like a conditional, seems like a conditional, looks like a conditional, but it's not. It's not a conditional. Because, why? You're not sure. Officer, again, if Timmy, I don't know where Timmy is, but if he was here yesterday, he was sitting right there. Seems like a conditional. It's not a conditional. That's why you don't have to change was to were or was to had been. You don't have to do that. Yeah, it's not a conditional. Why? Because you're not sure. If you're not sure, you don't have to apply the basic rules of conditionals to the grammar. If you are 100% sure, especially in relation to the 4 basic conditionals that I've taught you, that's when you apply the grammar modifications. Was to were, had been, would have, been here. That's when you apply those conditional grammar rules. I think that's it. Remember, you've got to differentiate between the sounds of will and would. When you speak for the TOP, speak in a very slow yet flowing cadence, rhythm, but really control and manage the words that you're pronouncing, especially when it comes down to words like will and would. Well, if I am the manager, I will give them a raise. If I were the manager, I would give them a raise. If I had been the manager, I would have given them a raise. There you go.